Chicago Bears GM Ryan Poles just took all his chips and pushed them into the middle of the table. The Bears are all in. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy here with Chicago Bears Reacts, bringing you all the Chicago Bears news you're seeking here in the free agency season. Before we dive into today's video, if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, and please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, make sure you're tuned into everything coming out of this channel, because we're covering all the exciting news, including today's story, which is that the Chicago Bears have traded for star wide receiver Keenan Allen, sending a fourth-round pick to the Los Angeles Chargers. My goodness, I think anybody watching this channel is probably aware of who Keenan Allen is. This is a veteran player. Yes, he's a little on the older side. I believe he's 32 years old. But this is somebody who has not made a career out of being an athletic freak. This is someone who has been a technician, somebody who has gotten open, somebody who is savvy. He has all of the traits you would want for an older wide receiver. And even if you're unconvinced, let's look at what he did in this past season. Look at these numbers: 108 catches, 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns in 13 games. Those are numbers for 13 games. Look at that. This is pretty comparable to what DJ Moore did this past season, and he did it in just 13 games. Now, yes, he had Justin Herbert throwing to him, so that makes a big difference. I don't necessarily expect him to put up those kind of numbers, but could he get another 100 catches and maybe 1,000 yards? I don't know why not. And that would be a significant improvement. Look, last year, Darnell Mooney had the second highest totals of all the wide receivers, and he had like 40 catches for 400 yards and a single touchdown. This, oh my goodness, the upgrade we're going to see here is going to be monumental. This is also, this is a player who is a true pro. This is a real. This is someone who's going to be helpful to the locker room. I expect his presence to pay big dividends to whatever young players they continue to bring in this offseason, specifically coming out of the draft. And so if you're Caleb Williams, you got to be thrilled. You've got now 2 legitimate elite receivers on your roster. You've got 2 very solid, dependable tight ends. You've got a great pass-catching back. This is an offense. And so, there's still some work to be done. I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a wide receiver. But now you don't have to get a wide receiver at pick 9. You still can, and I think it's still on the table. But if the Bears are thinking we got to get our defensive end, you can wait now on a wide receiver. You don't have to reach. There's a lot of good wide receivers you can take in the second or third rounds, depending on what you're able to do. I think this allows the Bears to consider trading back and getting a little more draft capital. There's just so much on the table now because of this move, and it's a very low investment. It cost them 20-something million this year, but they had the money. You can spend it. You don't have to re-sign him. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But he's going to have a positive influence on this team, guaranteed. And so I like that. So the compensation, it was a 4th-round pick, obviously, as we talked about. And a 4th-round pick isn't nothing necessarily, but when you think about trying to set up a young rookie quarterback for success, I would much rather give them 1 season, if that's all we get, of Keenan Allen than roll the dice on another Velus Jones, Tyler Scott. Jury's still out on Tyler Scott, but neither one of those, have of those receivers have blown us away in any way. In fact, they've been largely kind of disappointing. And so you needed to solve this. And it's a short-term solution, but it does give you a solution. And the Bears are signaling we're committed to the development of our quarterback, but also we're trying to compete now. I think they saw what happened in Houston and said, we've got more talent than that. If Caleb is who we think he is, there's no reason the Bears can't do what Houston did this past season, and maybe even be a little bit better. I know, blasphemy. But I'm nothing if not an optimist. So, I think an interesting way to look at this too is let's revisit this trade that took place last year with the Carolina Panthers. Because ultimately, Keenan Allen was traded for the Bears' own 4th-round pick. But really, I think the Bears were willing to do that because they had this additional 4th-round pick. If you recall, last year the Bears traded back one spot with the Eagles and got a 4th-round pick out of it. And we were like, oh, great. So they get Jalen Carter and we get a 4th. Hooray. But now, if you take a look at, if you indulge me and take a look at it through the lens of Keenan Allen becomes that 4th-round pick, trading from 1 to 8 and 8 to 9 gave you Darnell Wright, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Stevenson, DJ Moore, likely Caleb Williams, and a 2nd-round pick next season. Just when I think that trade can't look any worse for Carolina, I mean, this is unreal. The amount of talent, and so far, these are all hits. I mean, Darnell Wright, Tyreek Stevenson, DJ Moore have been home runs. Keenan Allen, I expect to be a home run. We'll see what happens with Caleb. We'll see what happens with next year's 2nd-round pick. But ultimately, Ryan Poles looks like he pulled off probably just the most lopsided trade in recent memory. So it's going to go down as one of the most lopsided trades in history. It really will. So, and then last thing I wanted to just share, because I saw this and I thought, this is true. This is probably this is the point, I think, of this video in so many ways. The Bears have 2 good young tackles, 2 good young corners. They have Montez Sweat as an edge player. And, this is assuming right now we're looking at Caleb Williams. But now they have 2 big-time wide receivers, a go-to tight end in Kmet, and ask yourselves this. Have you ever seen a first round, like a number 1 overall pick who's a quarterback drafted into a better situation than this? Because I have not. I know a lot of people are going to want to point to like what happened with CJ Stroud this past year. Some of that was a little bit like when that draft took place, a lot of people were looking at the Texans thinking like, this is going to take some time. No one anticipated that. The Bears already have all of these pieces, and it's like you look at what are the most important positions. Edge rusher, they got one. They have a chance to get a second one in this draft. Corner, you've got 2 of them, and they're both young, solid corners. Offensive tackle, you've got Braxton Jones, who I think you can improve on, but you could do a lot worse than Braxton. And then Darnell Wright, who looks like he's going to be a blue chip tackle. You've got 2 young tackles. You're about to have a young quarterback who we think is going to be elite. We hope so. And then wide receiver, and you've got 2 elite wide receivers. And so you think the Bears are doing this right. They are investing heavily in the most important positions, and I think it's really going to pay off. So here's the question I want answered in the comments, though. As you look at Keenan Allen, do you want them to extend him right away, or are you thinking you just want this to be a 1-year rental? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and as always, bear down.